Confederacy of Dunks. Toronto Raptors. Scotty B. WeTheNorth, baby.
What's up? Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks. I am Freddie Rivas, here with my host, Andy Hull.
That's right. I'm your host. Your
I messed
personal
up
host. You blew it right off the top.
I messed up right away. Andy is, listen, he's a, I mean, I don't even know. He's just a good guy. So
I'm just going to be on you. You know, any small speaking error, any kind of mispronunciation, you're dead.
Grill me.
Yeah.
I'm training for life, so I need you. I need you to host me every night at your house.
Yeah.
We'll go to Hull Charm School. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, we are Raptors podcast, NBA podcast with Raptors Republic. And we have a very amazing guest here. If you're watching on video, I mean, pretty cool nickname off the top, Pascal Slay Ackham. You got the Slay in there. You got an actual Santa style spelling Slay. He's with Raptors HQ. He talks Raptors on the radio and on CP24 and CBC, a bunch of stuff.
I'm trying to turn this thing on while you introduce me. There you go.
Oh, wow. Okay, we got the lights too. Jay Rosales, what's up? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Ho, 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 fellas. Really happy to be on. Let's talk Raptors. I don't know. I'm excited. Like, you've had me on a couple of times here, Freddie, but I don't know if I've been more excited for the agenda we've got on tap. Let's get to it, man. I'm excited.
There's some fun
stuff.
Yeah,
let's do it. I got a serious agenda, and that's you're my host too. Everybody's a host episode. Okay, let's fire this up. So first question, let's start with you, Jay. I don't think the Raptors have won. No, I mean, I know they haven't won 3 games in a row. I was actually at the Hornets game yesterday where the Raptors beat a team of bench players that are not well known. And Terry Rozier. So, we won the game. That was nice. But we need to win 3 in a row to get a Darko dinner. So Darko Rajakovic has promised the team a dinner if they win 3 games in a row. Doesn't get too thirstier than that, I don't think. Not a good spot. Basically trying to whatever. I mean, we're perhaps blowing it out of proportion, but it's just not a great look. These guys aren't struggling with dinner. Not great. Don't think it's going to convince anyone, but it is funny. So Darko dinners.
Maybe it's just the kind of pizza that they're talking about. Like, what if he said pizza? He doesn't know Toronto pizza. Like, offer the good stuff. I was going to give a quick plug to a good pizza place, but I don't know any. So, I mean, this is where you guys go. But maybe he's just offering the wrong pizza place.
Maybe, but to me, offering his team a dinner if they win 3 games in a row is not a super confident move. It's like you're out for dinner and someone fake pulls their wallet out. You're like, nah, I know you got this. Except he knows it. Yeah,
it's like offering money as a prize for some like in-season tournament like thing. It's not the right incentive to get these guys going.
Yeah, like these guys can afford their own dinner. You know what I mean? This isn't like your high school like house league team or something. You know what I mean? Where your coach is like, guys, pizza's on me. You're eating free today. You know what I mean? It's like these guys make millions of dollars. You know,
they also hang out a lot.
Yeah, they're constantly together.
Yeah, dark times. So, anyways, that made me think like there's a lot to choose from here. But there's been a lot of bleak moments in Raptors history, and this is another one. So, Jay, we're gonna start with you. Give me a standout bleak moment in Raptors history.
I actually have a date for this one. April 21st, 2007. It is game 1 of the playoffs. The Raptors are hosting the New Jersey Nets. Vince Carter is on that team. It's time to get some revenge on Carter. fans continue booing him constantly. And what happens before the ball even tips off?
Yep.
The fans are given free shirts. What color are those shirts? They are red. What color are the Raptors wearing? White. What color are the Nets wearing?
Red.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great
certainly
one.
do remember that.
That's
awful.
This is a good one.
I don't even have to tell you that the Raptors lost the game. They lost the game before the ball was even tipped off. That was probably the lowest of the low. Like, you figure I'd pick something where like the Raptors finished the season with like 10 wins, something, but like that is horrible. That is
this is what I'm going for. That's pathetic. Like, that's good stuff.
It doesn't get more pathetic. And as someone who used to work in the arena as game ops, I would probably quit on the spot finding that out. Like, I don't want to be attached to this at all. Like, big problem there by everyone involved in how that happened. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the bleakest moment. I don't know. I don't know if you guys stop that one.
Oh, listen, I how did that happen? This is the thing. Like, how far in advance do we know about the jersey choice? Like, and it's got to be a thing where it's like, look, just make sure we're wearing red for these home games, or whatever, right? Or let's get white T-shirts. How about that? How about all season long we're wearing whites as homes? So we're obviously not going to put them in the red shirts. That's the Nets colors. It's like I hope that person got fired, and I never say that.
Yeah, and if you think about like what happened in the playoff seasons after that, like in the first few years with Masai in town, they basically said, you know what, it's never going to get as bleak as this, so let's just continue to roll out really horrendous shirts to give out. Remember the Angry Beaver? You remember the one with the holding the net? It was just it was horrible after horrible shirt. But it was like, well, it can't really get any worse than wearing the same color as the opponent. So, yeah, that one's got to be up there for me.
Ugh, yeah, that's tough.
That's a great one.
I cringe whenever anything that's not like Canada Day, you know what I mean? Like overtly Canadian has a picture of a beaver on it. I got no problems with the mighty beaver. I got no problems with the iconography. But if we're talking about like the Toronto Raptors, like I don't need to see a beaver anywhere involved in that. I don't need to see that at all. Like they used to give out the Canadian Comedy Awards, and they used to have like a stupid cartoon beaver on it, and I'm just like, guys, let's take something a bit seriously, even though it is a comedy award. I got a date for you too. Actually, I got a date. June 26th, 2014. Does anyone know the significance of that date?
June 26, 2014.
So you might notice that's an off-season.
That's a draft.
That's a draft.
Oh, it's a
draft.
draft.
That's the 2014 draft. And listen, let me tell you, you probably can see what's coming here, but before, like, this isn't about one of those classic things of like, we took X person and we could have got Y person, like that is a popular way to go back and look at drafts.
Sure.
But I think that's flawed because, that means other people, like a bunch of other people.
That's right.
Usually
So much missing context. Yeah.
So for example, Nikola Jokic in this draft, goes 41st overall, right? Yeah. That's 40-ish, 40-ish. That's 40 picks that missed out on him. So we can't be like the Raptors had 20th pick overall here. We missed out on Jokic. No, we didn't miss out on Jokic. Everyone missed out on Jokic. But we did make a really off the board choice here at 20. Which again is not a super high draft pick, but you're looking for someone who can make an impact, even if it's within a little bit of time. But that's of course where the Raptors took Bruno. How do you say his last name?
Caboclo.
Caboclo.
Yeah,
we took Bruno here.
Yeah,
and I remember watching. We were stoked about this draft. We were my friends and I were watching at our friend's house, and we're expecting one of the guys who's on the board. Who the guys are talking about on the TV, and it's like this. They announced Bruno, and we're just like, who? Yeah. And then of course you get the rundown of like, okay. Like the guys are like shuffling their papers on the broadcast, being like, oh yeah, it's this guy from Brazil,
Yeah, he's real.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So there's like very little footage of him. What the footage is looks pretty cool. Like he looks maybe like he's the phenom in Brazil. Of course he is in Brazil, right? And like, but of course this didn't pay off for the Raptors at all. As all-time, to me, it's like one of the all-time worst picks because even though if you look at the guys who got picked around this spot, there's no crazy standout player like Bogdan Bogdanovic goes 27th, like I don't know. There's not really anyone else who stands out. Getting down to like Jokic and I don't know, DeAndre Daniels here, who we did take actually. But anyways, there's not a ton of guys who we could have picked, but there's just something. There was something about the feeling when we picked the guy who no one had ever heard of or seen or anything, where it was like, this is such a Toronto pick. Like, we'd had this for years where we picked these guys and they never meant to anything. And it just felt so like, oh, we thought maybe it was going to be different this time around. And instead, we end up with the Brazilian phenom that is Bruno Caboclo.
Yep. And we got the famous quote from that, right? The 2 years away from being 2 years away, which was wildly accurate.
Yes, absolutely.
It was such
accurate.
a slanderously mean quote. And man, oh man, I forget who made that, but it's like, I'd love to see that guy be like, yeah, anyone want to talk about that quote with me? Because I nailed it. He's 2 years away. Okay. You got the math there from being 2 years away. Yeah. And he was so correct. Yeah. And that, by the way, that was 2 years away from being 2 years away from being a passable NBA player.
Yes.
Like a
just
journeyman
making the
NBA.
league. Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. And like, I kind of get like the mindset. If you're within the organization, you're looking at this draft class and you're going, there's no one really exciting here. Like, take a flyer on this guy who no one knows about. It's like, in your mind within, like, you can have an insular thing where like, this kind of makes sense. If this guy is, how good he is in Brazil, this could be crazy.
Totally.
But of course it's not going to be that. Like, just go with the standard knowledge.
And I mean, right after that, right? It's Mitch McGary in and out of the league.
Yeah. Exactly.
Jordan Adams, I don't even remember him.
Rodney Hood.
Rodney Hood, NBA player.
Yeah, he had a time.
He did some stuff. Okay, Here's mine. A lot to choose from here. I want to give a little notable, maybe either if you guys remember the player. I just can't remember the player, but there was a moment during the Jay Triano era where he called a player from the bench and the player wouldn't come. I want to say it's not Julian Wright, because I think that's later on. I forget. I think it's a Wright, like a W-R-I.
Antoine Wright?
Maybe it's Antoine Wright, but the player wouldn't come. And it was like all on camera and the player just shook his head. And it was like this moment where it was just so embarrassing to call a player from the bench and the player would be like, nah.
Triano was only here for 2 seasons, and Antoine Wright was on for that first season, and then the second season, Julian Wright. So one of those two Wrights. I think it is Antoine Wright.
The Wright brothers. Here's my actual moment, though. So this is 2010, also off season, and Matt Barnes. Does anyone remember Matt Barnes?
Yeah,
of course, right?
Yeah.
So the Raptors traded for Matt Barnes, and the trade did not go through because of a math error.
Ugh.
So Matt Barnes agreed, but we couldn't afford to, we had used our mid-level exception money on Linus Kleza.
Oh, man.
So
I remember
both teams agreed to the trade, and then somewhere in the back offices, someone got called out. It's like, hey, dude, you did the math wrong. So Wojnarowski, Mark Stein, get on the horn. Let everyone know that the Raptors will not be acquiring Matt Barnes because someone didn't do the math right. So that's really embarrassing, really bleak. It would have been a nice acquisition for Barnes. So yeah, that's my bleak moment.
For some reason, my friends and I always said Linus Kleza as Linus Kleza because he looks like
way more suitable than Linus Kleza. That sounds way like that needs to be like the standard of how you pronounce his name.
He looked like such a monster. He was so big.
Yeah, he's like, okay, that name works for like, it's like this guy's coming to kill you.
Yeah.
I always wonder with those types of deals that fall through, right? I mean, we you guys remember like the Lowry supposed to be going to the Knicks and that didn't happen.
Yes.
Like we know how that turned out actually very well for the Raptors. I wonder if like this too, like if Matt Barnes was on the Raptors, maybe we don't end up like there's that whole like sliding doors
the
thing,
ripple
right?
for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I completely forgot about that one. That's getting caught up on on someone's financial like miscalculation is as bleak as it gets.
I have a question.
Sure.
Jay, that was a really good reference you made there. Do you think people know what people of our general age are talking about when we say sliding doors?
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Did I give my first "I'm aging myself" reference? I haven't even touched that stuff yet.
Or is it something that's persisted? Like I know what you're talking about. It's Gwyneth Paltrow movie from like what, early 2000s or something?
Yeah.
But is that something that people know? Like outside of like
I would say
Zoomers know that?
Hold on that question to when we get to one of the later questions, because I'll make you feel even older. I'll even date myself even more.
This is not even meaning to. I'm not trying to call.
No. I get that.
I use sliding doors all the time. It's like a very normal reference for me. I just assume everyone knows it.
Well, what if isn't the other one people use is there's ripple effect? I mean, Freddie said that, but like there's also isn't there also a butterfly
effect? Yeah,
is that older or like the same? Like I don't know.
Could be.
Okay,
but that's a real that's like a real theory that then they based a movie on. I think, right? Whereas
sliding doors
is just the name of that movie.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
Which
point.
I think is honestly that's my preferred way to reference that is saying sliding doors.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. I was about to be like, is this not like sort of an expression? Nope. First line in Wikipedia. Although the term originated from the 1998 film Sliding Doors, the concept did exist. Actually, this is like older than us, but it existed from a play called Dangerous Corner in 1932.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
but let's be honest, people weren't saying sliding doors before the Gwyneth Paltrow movie, right? Like we weren't out here just being like, "Oh wow, what a sliding doors moment." Like no.
You know, during World War II,
the concept was real, but like
during
we didn't have a name for it.
People were talking about that play, I think.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So Raptors stuff. Let's just do it. Let's talk about trades. I think that it's what the people want. I think people are obsessed with it. We are 11-15, short of something magical. This year is about the development of Scotty, and I think the retaining of assets, Pascal, and OG, right? Whether that's a potential extension, or you trade them, or you're confident you're going to re-sign them. This trade deadline is the, I would say, penultimate moment. Penultimate? That's not a word. Penultimate moment of kind of like, do they stay or do they go? Right? Because the trade deadline is going to happen. It's going to pass. And then we'll be like, okay, there's one more chance to sign them or trade them or whatever. So I thought it'd be fun if we all sort of thought of a trade for one of those guys. There's also Gary in the mix. And I don't know who wants to kick this off. Andy, do you have I could kick it off with my trade.
I just kind of like looked at it and like kind of analyzed stuff that I'd like heard around and like read, you know what I mean? So like I more comment on that sort of stuff. I didn't actually like come up with my own trade for this, but you guys did, right?
I do have a trade. I think I'll just say it off the bat. I think it's a little bit of a Raptors loss, but I feel like
I think these are all Raptors.
All of them are going to be Raptors.
Exactly. I'm trying to deal with the reality of the situation, and Masai and Bobby having some humble pie, perhaps. So here's the logic. It starts from this place. We're confident we can re-sign or extend Siakam. We're not confident we can re-sign or extend OG. So that's the fork in the road that they're starting from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's an OG trade.
Right.
Who wants OG? Who needs OG? Who's willing to take him for 1 year, assuming they can then re-sign him? And even if they can't, they're in a bit of a desperate situation. That team for me is the New Orleans Pelicans. So there's a lot of Indiana talk. There's a lot of, I think Hawks talk is more real. But the Indiana stuff, all these teams that are things are just gold. Things are going well. I don't see them being desperate. The Pelicans need to be good. They need to be good now. The Zion timeline, the Brandon Ingram timeline, I think there's pressure there to be good. And OG will make a difference on that team. And they're really deep. so they can give us some players and use OG as a consolidating type thing. Anyhow, that's the logic here. And the trade is OG Anunoby, Chris Boucher, and Otto Porter Jr. So all potentially role players. I'm assuming Otto won't actually play, but this makes them, I think, a better team now. And we get back a first-round pick. The salary matcher, and this is big, is CJ McCollum. So the reason we get CJ is he has 3 years left on his contract, 2 years left on his contract. So it's a little bit of kicking the can for the Raptors, and it's like we have time to then deal with CJ. He's a shooter, ball handler. And if you're the Pelicans, you're like, this kind of, we can do without CJ because we're improving here. And then I wanted him in the draft, so I don't know that that's going to happen for sure. But we also get Jordan Hawkins, who is a great shooter, guard, ball handler, gives us more of that kind of that room. So that's my trade. The trade machine says that the Raptors win, but I think that the sort of basic fantasy stuff, whoever gets the best player in the trade wins, and I think the best player is OG. So I do think the Pelicans win, but it's a bit of a acknowledging the timeline move. That's my trade. What are you guys saying?
While you were talking, I threw that into a different trade machine, the Fanspo one. They had the Pelicans actually winning that one, and so I think that if you get something where like it has the trade machines kind of giving you different answers there, then that probably means it's one of those where it really is kind of, it can be seen as a win-win, right? Where both teams can see the value in it. I think you kind of laid it out really well there at the top. I think any trade that involves Pascal or OG, it's fair to assume right off the bat, Raptors fans are not going to be happy, right? More so, I would say the fair weather casual fans who would like to see something of a match in value there. I mean, it would be really great to see someone like CJ head over here, and this would obviously open up the floor for Scotty to kind of be the playmaker. With CJ out there as a scorer. I mean, that's what we've seen over the last little while. Is this team will thrive if there are more scorers around that nucleus of Scotty creating and or Pascal creating. So I like it. I think it'll work. I think that it's one of those that I think that you'll probably get more negative comments out of Pelicans fans because they would probably try to want to fleece the Raptors a bit more and then not give up McCollum, but I see it. I see a win here from both sides of it. Again, with the acknowledgement that, the Raptors are definitely giving up more here. I mean, and that's trying to put aside the bias of this being, OG being our guy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I would take that if it meant that we don't lose OG for nothing in the offseason.
Yeah, and I think the pick's important, and it seems like, and I agree with it. What's been important for Masai and Bobby is to not get a bunch of picks that, could end up being Grady, Koloko, and Malachi. I think he wants someone like Jordan Hawkins is like, okay, he's shown that he's good. And, you could replace Hawkins for a variety of guys on the Pelicans. Trey Murphy or whatever. But, anyways, that's the goal. Who wants to step in here?
I got 3 trades for 3 different players. So
Ooh, wow.
Really, it's up to you guys what you want to do here.
Go ahead.
I'll list out. You know what? None of them seem to step on each other, so I can just fire off all 3 at the same time, and then you can just pick on whichever one you like, or you can just say they all suck. I'll start with my favorite, and that is actually also OG. Going to the Thunder. The salary match in this one would be Bertans. The juicy, the young prospect coming back would be Jalen Williams, and then 3 firsts from the Thunder. So for the Thunder, they don't need Bertans. Jalen is really the one that we're talking about the good Jalen Williams, not the other Jalen Williams, the one that's actually their starter. He's the one they probably wouldn't want to part with and want to keep. And then and for me, the draft picks, I mean, I think we all know they have like 30 picks over the next like 5 years or something like that. Like they can give these things away fairly easily and still have more picks to make an even bigger splash. So that's one. Next one I've got here, Gary Trent plus Boucher plus Porter Jr. to Chicago for Levine. Then I've got a pair of Siakam trades. These ones are actually kind of hard to put together. I think OG was the easiest because OG can go to any team, really. And his salary is only $18 million, so it's very easy to match. So it's a matter of trying to find value in that. Siakam was very difficult because a lot of teams either don't have the money or they have someone who's kind of that self-creator already, so he wouldn't really fit there. So I landed on two teams. Memphis being one for Marcus Smart, Brandon Clark, Zaire Williams, and 3 firsts, or the Blazers for a bunch of ex-Celtics. Brogdon, Robert Williams, the shiny prospect being Shaedon Sharpe, and 3 firsts. So I've thrown like 4 trades at you guys. Any one of them enticing?
I mean, honestly, they all kind of sound enticing to me as a Raptors fan. But my whole thing about this is like after seeing so many like people, both Toronto media and like the American media, like pitch Raptors trades, it's very clear we are either overvaluing all the Raptors players or they're undervaluing all of them, right? And it's probably somewhere in the middle,
right?
But I like Shaedon Sharpe. I'll take him. Yeah,
I think for me the OKC one. I mean, the good Jalen Williams is too good, so I think that's
that's the one that'll be the easiest no for the other team.
When you said
no way, that's and then I mean you're right. But 3 firsts, it's like but that's where OKC.
That's something that like that's more of that's what Masai is going to ask for, right? Masai is going to ask for. Let's be real. He's going to ask for 5 firsts, but like he's not going to get that. So I was trying to find somewhere in between here. Well, I mean, the trade still works if you give 1 pick, but I made it 3 just because I'm selfish.
I also think that similar to the Celtics when they had a bunch of picks, part of the reason that they were kind of stunted in making a trade is teams are not approaching you saying, let's just be fair and you give me a 1st round pick. They're looking, being like, okay, you have 45 picks, so I want 10. And then the Presti is like, oh well, that's ridiculous. You wouldn't ask that of Minnesota. And then whatever GM is just sort of like, I would not ask that of Minnesota. They have no picks.
Yeah.
Any problems here? Like, and it's like, I think when people call the Raptors, they're like, yeah, do you want? We'll give you like a bag of shit for your best player.
Yeah,
but he's Canadian. But he's Canadian, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
they always think that.
Yeah.
So I think like that's kind of like the reality is like when you hoard picks, people are like, I'm not going to assist you in your pick hoarding. So I'm going to ask you for more picks than I would ask anyone else, and I'll hang up the phone if you're being tight with that. I think Portland's the most interesting to me because I know what how if they would be in on the sort of Siakam free agent experience, but I think that I just can't see that Brogdon. I can't see them not wanting to move Brogdon.
Brogdon's gonna move, yeah.
And Robert Williams, great nickname by the way, Time Lord.
Oh yeah.
I feel like he's sort of in this potential right now where he's injured, and I feel like I could see him being like with 5 teams in the next 2 years type thing. Like has that type of energy. He's great, right? He has huge potential. So Portland, I think, is the team that I see wanting to make moves. I think they probably want picks, but if there is a player that they feel like they can keep of Siakam's quality. Maybe.
It feels like the Blazers and the Raptors are in a similar situation where like their franchise is at right now. It's like these two teams trading with each other feels like a lot of like we're just kind of spinning our wheels a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? We're kind of doing the same thing. We're loading guys.
Same with the Hawks
who are going to be gone next year. And like, we're just trading them off on each other. Like, why would either team do that really? Like, unless we're getting picks back.
Well, we can see why the Raptors would do it. The Raptors are doing it just because they don't want to lose these guys for anything. Right?
Of course. So, well, I mean, we're getting something, but like, that's why honestly, the OKC one, while it's I think over what they would give us,
Yep.
is the one where it's like, oh, here's a player, whoever you pick is going to help you right now, and your team is already pretty good. This is going to give you an extra push, and yeah, I don't know. That's why I like that one the most. I did you guys see the one that Bill Simmons proposed?
Oh boy,
Like,
if it's Bill Simmons attached, I'd usually avoid it.
yeah, exactly. But Bill was like, okay, Wiggins and
Here we go.
Because
Because he's Canadian.
Yeah, exactly, and this is the thing, and Americans love to do this. They think like we're taking any Canadian player at a massive loss, and it's like we'll give anything to have Canadians. It's like, well, that's just not really.
Ask the Pistons if they're itching to trade for Detroit native Draymond Green. Just ask the Pistons if they're willing to do that.
We also just like straight up let Banton go. Right? So it's like, oh, first Toronto guy ever, and it's like, oh, the Raptors didn't even talk to him, and he just walked away.
Yeah, but it was Wiggins and Kuminga for Pascal, and everyone in the comments was like, it was so funny to see it. Every Raptors fan was like, are you kidding? That's nuts. We don't get any, like, that's garbage, terrible trade. And all the Warriors fans were like, absolutely not. We're not trading for this guy. Like, it was like, who wins this trade? Who wants this trade? You know. And then another one I saw was basically the same thing, except it was Clay, and it's like, I mean, I get it. Like, that kind of makes sense, but I kind of just feel like the Warriors aren't going to do that. Like, this is a guy, he's like a legacy player. He's one of their all-time guys at this point. I don't know. I don't see them.
And he's also an expiring. So you're essentially trading Pascal's expiring for his expiring. So you're in the same boat again.
Yeah. And
I mean, I think if you're like, hey, we're going to move Clay, I think there's honestly, a chance that you are called into an emergency meeting with Steph Curry, and he's like, "You move Clay, we're in big trouble. Don't move Clay. It's my best friend.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he's my best friend.
He's my best man.
Please don't. I know he's not playing that well right now, but please don't trade him.
You understand?
So yeah, Kuminga's name is the one that comes up all the time for these trades, though. Also, which is like,
I love Kuminga.
Yeah, I like. Yeah. I don't hate that for us, you know. So like, you know, but I think either way, it's that thing of Toronto is we know our guys, we think our guys are great, and no one else does. You know, it's classic. Okay, here's one thing I heard someone say the other day, though, just real quickly. Sorry, Fred. OG is actually being undervalued by the entire league, I think. And maybe it's like a sneaky move by GMs because they don't want to give up too much for him. But,
it is.
Which, of course. But, like, he's an elite defensive player who is good at offense. If you flip that around and you have an elite offensive player who is good on defense, like, that's like, those are the top guys in the league.
Those are the ones you're giving up draft picks for.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, this thing of, like, OG like being this like just whatever player is like, it's insane. He's an absolutely elite defender and a good offensive player. So, you know, you want something good back for him, obviously, right? So we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people are going to do that to the Raptors because of their situation for sure, and you know, they, based on the rumored sort of like potential bidding war stuff for OG, people know, you know, if you're Memphis, if you're the Sacramento Kings, if you're the Pelicans, whatever, you know that OG can greatly change your playoff outcome.
Yeah.
So you're going to do that 100 times out of 100. But I also feel like that teams are willing to say, hey, we're going to offer OG the max. Yes, Raptors, you can pay him more than anybody else, but there's a chance that you're going to be in trouble. So if you want to avoid that, we can help you out by giving you a shitty deal. And yeah, I mean, I think that kind of carried over well from the first question, just bleak Raptors stuff.
Love it. Love it. It's a bleak time right now. It's quite bleak.
Looking bleak, baby. Let's move to some NBA. I'll start with you on this, Jay. Giannis chasing after the ball. This is good shit to me. This is a cinematic moment. You you have a bunch of, talking about like sliding doors here, like, even the end where he was like, I don't know if I got the ball. That's hilarious. The Pacers being petty. That's good stuff too. Thanasis, his brother, chasing him down the hallway, pulling his jersey, screaming, freaking out. I really, really love this. Like Giannis is that guy where he's like, so like kind of like has these like cute interviews where he's talking about like Oreos and like dipping them in milk and stuff. And then it's like he has these moments. Last year he pushed that ladder down, and this year it's like chasing after the ball. So I'm like, okay, I'm pretty into Giannis losing his mind. It's fun. Anyways, yeah, very cinematic moment. We'd love to see it dramatized, and made me think, what are some other really outrageous moments that you would like to turn into a movie? Jay, we'll start with you.
I took a moment that happened in the 90s.
Okay.
And I merged it with a classic 90s movie. So here's the scene. Let me set the scene. All right.
Okay. All right.
We've got our friend, let's call him, it's a 1940s diner.
Okay.
This guy, Larry. Let's call him Larry. He's at the bar there ordering his food. He's kind of got this rep. Him and his boys are kind of like they're trying to be the gang of the neighborhood. And in comes this other guy, the rival gang, Biff. Let's call him Biff. Biff and his gang walk in and they start fighting. Actually, Biff's real name is Alonzo. Just so you know. So he starts arguing with Larry. His gang members know him as Grandmama. But anyways, so these two start fighting, and they're arguing about whose neighborhood this is, like who's like the gang that owns this neighborhood. And in comes Marty McFly. Oh, sorry, I meant Jeff Van Gundy. And I'm sorry, I meant Marty. And he comes in and tries to break up the fight. And while he's trying to break up the fight, he falls and ends up holding on, to Biff's leg there and gets dragged along the floor. I think that something like that can be done there, right? It was something with like a 1940s diner with a fight. What do you guys think? You think that could happen? Maybe?
I think this is the only answer to this question.
Yeah,
to be honest, it's the answer.
You blew my answer like straight up, out of the water. That's good stuff.
There's no dumber NBA moment. There's no better movie that it fits into. It's all perfect. This is absolutely perfect to me.
Back to the Future and Knicks and Heat. I mean, they go together like, I don't know what goes together really well, but I think they go together well. So let's make it happen. Call up, I don't know, Martin Scorsese or something.
This is good.
Similarly, maybe how about I don't have it plotted out like a whole other movie.
No.
But because not all of us are as talented as Jay at that, obviously. But like, I mean, you said Knicks. I mean, I immediately thought of Reggie and Spike. I mean, just the trash talking from the side, and then the choking. Like that's one of my favorite basketball moments ever. And it like half doesn't even have to do with basketball. You know what I mean? Like it's like just a fan, just like a way too overzealous fan in Spike Lee, just being a part of it. So like, I don't know, he's the Agent Smith and Reggie's Neo. I don't know, whatever movie you want to throw it into, go for it. What if there's like 100 Spike Lees and Reggie's got to fight them all off? I don't know.
I mean, that's good shit. The only thing is we do have Winning Time. The documentary, which is about
Love that documentary. Yeah, but that's
a doc.
Yeah,
you're talking about like, listen, if this is like a real sort of drama film,
or how about a quick one? The one where all of the Michigan basketball team decided to wear black socks. See, your dog loves that.
Wait, the Michigan team decided to wear?
Yeah, the Wolverines. They all like Chris Webber and all those guys, and they were just like, you know what? The rules say we have to wear white socks. Guess what? We're wearing black socks.
Oh, that's good.
And like everyone at the time was like, what's wrong with them? Black socks look stupid. You look like a businessman. You know what I mean? But then all of a sudden, all the kids started wearing black socks with their sneakers, playing basketball.
That's also Chris Webber, as Freddie probably knows, my favorite player of all time.
Oh.
Fab Five, my favorite team of all time. So I am 150% behind this idea.
Huge.
I love that looks stupid. You look like a businessman.
Yeah, well,
That's the quote of the episode so far, I think. You idiot! You look like a successful businessman.
Walking on the court of a basketball game.
Okay, here's mine. It's recent, so it might be a little bit of trauma there, but we're going full Contagion. So this is the Utah Jazz, and the stars are Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, and I want it to be almost like Memento style, maybe a little maybe like 24, but like a scrambled timeline, right? So it's like you have that that time come up, and you just see, because there was a really good article written about how that Jazz team, first of all, there's all the drama of the game being right about to happen, and then the Jazz not coming out of the locker room, and then the guy coming over the arena speaker being like, everyone stay calm, but you do have to leave the arena. So that's sort of unfolding, right? Plus you got the Tom Hanks stuff in there. You could just do a little side thing. It's like Tom Hanks has COVID. Crazy. He's okay. He's in Australia. No worries. But and then the wild part too is that Jazz team, they got bussed out and had to like wait outside of a hotel for something like 12 hours. And they were all just like calling their family and like sitting outside of a bus and trapped in this place. And plus you got the drama there with Rudy and Donovan Mitchell. So I think there's a lot of, kind of Contagion style, drama filled, scary stuff. And you could mess around with the timeline. Who knows? Maybe you even start with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert like seeing each other for the first time when they're playing for like Minnesota and Cleveland, right? Like depending on how you want to mess around with that timeline. Anyways, Contagion.
I completely forgot. I love that. I completely forgot about the PA announcer on there. Who would play the PA announcer? Can it be someone like a Morgan Freeman, like someone with like the voice, like what's his name, Jeffrey Wright, like someone with like a very.
I gotta go Herbie Kuhn.
Yeah.
Even though it's not the Raptors, you gotta throw Herbie in.
Yeah. We gotta love it.
He's up for the challenge.
You need a good voice. You need a good voice for that one line.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Okay. Question 4 here. So this is just a sort of, kind of a standard checking in question. But one of my favorite things to monitor throughout the season is this kind of, like riding the highs and lows of narratives, right? So, even like I brought them up a couple times, but I think they were a good sort of like capture the zeitgeist team. But Indiana's only one game above 500, right? So that's a team that's kind of like, wow, this team, they've arrived. Are they unstoppable? The answer is no, they are for sure stoppable. Mm-hmm. Very bad defense. But if you're Indiana, things are great. But the reverse is, wow, this team sucks, and they've kind of got it together a little bit. So I don't know who wants to jump in here first. Is there a team that pops out to you that early on people were like, this team is really underperforming, they suck, and now you're sort of looking at them and you're like, no, they don't suck, they're good?
I can go first.
Sure.
Yeah. 3 games into the season, the Minnesota Timberwolves had lost to the Raptors and the Hawks.
Yeah.
And I was jumping on saying, this is not a good team. They are now the number 1 team in the West. They have the best defense. Wow. They are like historically good defense right now. So that's my team, Minnesota. I know that there's probably an answer that is going to be said, but I didn't want to go down that route just to kind of keep things different here. But yeah, like Minnesota is looking really, really good. I think that, we talk about the Raptors, let's say losing to the Hornets a couple weeks ago, or losing to the Blazers in that second week of the season. It's one of those losses where you're like, how could you lose to that team? For Minnesota, that's what Toronto is, right? Minnesota fans are looking at that schedule and they're like, man, why did we not beat that Raptors team, that crappy old Raptors team in the season opener? That team is I was going to swear, but like it's not a good team.
Yeah.
So that's what it's weird how like the Raptors are now in that scenario where we're part of that group. But yeah, I think it's Minnesota. Really blowing my mind in terms of how well they've kind of turned things around after a fairly slow start there.
The Raptors are. Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
I was going to say they're a fun team to watch.
Yeah. Speaking of Rudy Gobert, I'm definitely enjoying that the sort of like people are correcting the overcorrect. Like for a long time now, it's been like, oh man, Rudy Gobert is totally overrated. He sucks. And now it's like, oh, wait a second. I think he's the best defender the NBA's seen in a long time. I think there is an obvious answer here, but let me go to you, Andy. Is there a team that kind of jumps out to you?
Mine is more of a personal one, and I think for a little bit it kind of goes up, down, up. So mine's the Clippers.
Yes, that was my for sure.
That was going to be like
right. Okay, good. I wasn't sure. I was like, is this going to be like a unanimous thing? Is this what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll say it then. I'll be the Clippers because like obviously this is a team that like is a good team. Obviously, a bunch of good players. They add another team, great player, obviously Harden, and then they just crap themselves for a while.
Yeah.
But now they're back and they're good, and everyone's like, oh yeah, okay. They just had to figure it out, and
exactly.
They're an all-star team basically, and we'll see how they do. And it seems to be quite good. They won like 8 in a row now or something, and
8 in a row, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yep. There you go. The Clippers, and they're 6th in the West, and they're just going to go up from there. It feels like, right?
Yeah.
The other one I was thinking of was the Mavericks, which is right there with them, whereas like it felt like what's this team, and from what they were like last year, and then they're like, oh, they're pretty good for a while, and they are, and I feel like they're coming back to earth a little bit, but they're still a team that's like, oh, okay, the Mavs are good.
Yeah, the Clippers I think are the answer. They inspired this question. I, like everybody else, was making fun of the Clippers, making fun of Harden, and it's not just the 8-game winning streak. It's sort of like the way they're pulverizing teams. It's like, oh right, these are some incredible players to have on the same team. So I think that they are figuring out and really good. My backup answer is the Bucks. The Bucks didn't have a horrible start, but I think early on it was sort of like, what's going on with Middleton, and do Lillard and Giannis fit? And like, maybe that wasn't the best idea to get rid of Drew Holiday. And it's like, no, Lillard is certainly better than Drew Holiday. And yeah, maybe things aren't perfectly meshed, but and maybe Giannis will never win another MVP, but he's so dominant. I think he's leading the league in points per game again. And just the Bucks are just an absolute wrecking ball of a team, especially in the regular season. And
it's honestly a similar situation to the Clippers, right? Like you're adding this superstar player that like potentially throws off the chemistry of what you've got working on like a good team, and you see a little dip in their schedule. They lose a couple and stuff like that, and they're kind of underperforming. It seems like, even though even at that time for the Bucks, like when Dame would have a good game, like then Giannis would have a good game, but they were never really on the same like wavelength. It felt like, and then now they're starting to figure it out.
Yeah, well said. And I think like when there's players that good, the expectation is that the expectation sort of is that you're Boston, right? Mm-hmm. Like I think Boston is the type of team that has just completely matched expectations. Like they look like a super team, they are like a super team, and they're doing exactly what people thought they would be doing. Okay, let's wrap this baby up with a
quick draft.
With a quick draft.
I love that. Like the premise for entire podcast is how we end our show.
Yeah, I love it, folks. Let's wrap this up with an extensive and weird draft, as always. So this is I think this is Andy's idea from a while back, and then I just pretended it was my own organic idea last night when I was writing the topics. But Andy, do you want to take this draft away? Do you want to? Sure.
Okay, so well, like we do draft once in a while here. This time, inspired by our boy Draymond Green and his recent miscomings and actions, We've
Miss
decided.
Cummings.
Maybe, I don't know. Is that a word?
Yeah.
We've decided to draft the all-time 5 of the most like the best tough guys, and that can mean, you know, whether they're tough on the court or these guys like they're getting into trouble, they're fighting. This is the all-time like rough players that you want to have. You want to see these guys in the paint throwing elbows, not necessarily all big men, but hey, we're looking for tough guys in that like vein of Draymond and players like him. So we have previously here. Let's see if this works. Okay, it doesn't, because I got to do this and then I do this. There we go. Okay, so we have the big board here. If you're watching us on YouTube, we've predetermined the draft order. It was random at random.org. Looking for that sponsorship anytime you're ready. Random.org. The randomization community. Peace. What's happening? Jay, you have first pick here. We're talking all, and we're not filling any specific positions or anything. We're just looking for a five players, and other than that, you're free to go.
Wow. Okay. Well, with the first pick in the Confederacy of Dunks tough guy draft, the Jay Rosales are going to select Draymond Green.
Whoa!
From the University of Michigan State. You know what? My question to you, Freddie, I should have asked was like, am I allowed to draft the guy who's like, who we're doing this
100%.
draft after? Like,
course,
if he's,
yeah.
I'm assuming he's available. So
Of
Yeah,
course.
he's available. He's not in the game. He's available.
okay.
Yeah,
Draymond going first overall here. I mean,
I'm so confident in the rest of my top 5 here that I'll just go ahead and take the one obvious one that I know would not be back. So yeah, you can tell I drafted before.
This is great to me because I feel like, you know, the real sort of goal here with Draymond, like, it's not just tough guy, right? There's a lot of NBA tough guys, but I love loose cannon. You know,
Yeah.
Draymond, it could be like you're up by 2, 5-second game, and he gets a tech and you lose the game.
that's what you want on this team.
That's what I want on
Yeah.
this team.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it could be a practice and he KOs somebody on his own team. You know, so I'm looking for these guys.
You know what I'm also thinking? I'm thinking in game. Think about like your star player, season open lane. They're driving down. Who is the one person they are afraid of the most? Of like trying to do something, like trying to dunk over. Like everyone will try to dunk over Rudy Gobert. Everyone will try to dunk over a shot blocker. But I don't think anyone really wants to do anything menacing to Draymond Green. I think they're afraid for their life. So that's why I went with Draymond.
He'll hurt them. Okay, I think Draymond's a really good first pick. I don't know if this is my first pick easy, and I have to make sure he's still available for when it's my turn again. I got to go with the worm, Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I think this is absolute chaos. He might go away for 2 weeks. He might get married to Carmen Electra. He might, be the best player. That night he might hurt somebody, might kick a cameraman. A lot is on the table with Dennis. And I got to go.
Choice.
And obviously no one is messing with Dennis. Like he might kiss you and then punch you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a lot is possible. So,
He's definitely going to step on your nuts.
Yeah.
We all know that. We all know that. We've seen
100%.
that literally happen.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Some strong picks here, obviously. But here I am at third with 2 choices because it's always a snake draft. You got to. I'm going with arguably the toughest all-time player. Like, ask NBA players. They will always include this player on, like, high on their lists. And he's the first name I thought of. And that's the garbage man, Charles Oakley. Former Raptor.
Yeah.
I'm taking him high here. This is a guy that people were literally afraid to come in on. Like you don't go up with Charles Oakley. He's gonna knock you down. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And also, I think one of the first nicknames when I started like becoming a basketball fan, when I started paying attention to the NBA, my friend was like, "Oh yeah, Charles Oakley, the garbage man," and I was like, "Oh, awesome! I love that name." And then I don't think I've ever heard anyone use that nickname ever again, but I love it.
Yeah. Also, he's like, "Listen, I'm gambling. Most of the time, I'm gambling with Michael Jordan." So
Yeah,
come on.
exactly. There's obviously there's tons of other good picks here. I think I got a high pick who might last, so I'm gonna wait on one of my top three here, because with my second pick, we're going with Hall of Famer. Hall of Fame. Honestly, you could induct him, player, broadcaster. It's up to you. It's Charles Barkley.
Yeah, Charles is great. People forget that Charles is out of control.
People forget that Charles Barkley was the Dennis Rodman before Dennis Rodman turned into Dennis Rodman. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
He was the guy who was like, I'm not a role model. That was what he said.
100%.
Do not copy me, kids. I'm a maniac.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, he's so funny now that everyone's like, "Oh, it's my uncle." It's like, yeah, your uncle got in trouble though. He will with like in the bat of an eye talk shit about every woman in San Antonio. Like, he doesn't care. Yeah. Like, also, he'll just say anything. Yeah. And then a degenerate gambler as well. Your team is gambling. There's a gambling theme already. And there's also a KLEY theme as well.
There is apparently, yeah.
But I love it. I got my two top guys here. I got them at third, and I'm feeling like this is huge. All right, Fred,
okay, this is good. This is good. My pick's still on the board. I honestly wanted Oakley, but I thought I don't know. I wasn't sure, but he's a tough guy. Raptors fans should know that too, because he didn't take any shit from Vince. But my guy here, he's famous for being out of control. He's famous for being tough. He was a part of one of the NBA's darkest moments. I got to go with Meta World Peace.
Yes.
Ron Artest.
There you go.
Meta, an incredible player, but that's not what I'm into right now. I'm into Meta. Like you're not gonna mess with him on the court, but also he's weird. Like he's like, like there's a lot going on there, and so I'm happy with my Meta Rodman. Two sort of small forward, power forwards, so I gotta kind of.
Well, don't worry. We're not worrying too much about positioning here, but Malice in the Palace. I mean, let's go. Right, this is one of the all-time moments.
Oh man, I'm so happy with the way this board fell to me. I have an all-time tough guy, so I'm gonna go with Bill Laimbeer first. He's gonna be, nice. I know you were waiting. I knew you guys would be waiting for him. I'm surprised he's still here. So I got Bill Laimbeer over with my second pick, and so obviously he's an all-time enforcer. The clips of him just literally clotheslining people is. It was a different time. The 80s.
He was so violent, you wondered about his actual basketball abilities.
There is a Super Nintendo game called Bill Laimbeer's Combat Basketball.
Yes, there is. That's amazing.
It's a fun game, but it's nuts.
Bill Laimbeer, again, very happy he fell to me. And then next, I'm gonna go with someone who was actually a fighter. An MMA fighter. I'm going to go with James Johnson with my next pick. And I'm 95% sure the Bucks signed him because Thanasis didn't do his job and get the game ball instead. So if James Johnson was around, that game ball would be coming to us.
Thanasis, you're coasting.
Yeah.
This is good.
No one's messing with my team, not even in the locker room, not with James Johnson there. So, again, very happy that this board has fallen the way it has.
Very good. We're all happy with our teams. My guy's still there.
Oh, I love it. Everyone just...
there's so many guys.
But also everyone like talking smack like, oh, you guys missed the best picks, actually.
Whoa, okay, listen. When I say this guy, I mean, there's just not... There's no argument. Do any of your players strangle their coach? Because mine does. With Charles Sprewell. PJ Carlissimo, watch out. Do not make Sprewell run too much. He'll strangle you. So, so if you guys have a player on your team that will strangle his own coach, let me know.
Oh, man. I fully thought Latrell was going to fall. I thought he'd be down here in the last round. And you know what? You're right to pick him here. I can't even pretend. Latrell's
not a lot of guys attacking their own coach.
Choking his own coach is one of the all-time insane moments in NBA history. It's really something. But, that being said, I am delighted that I do get to pick my number 3 and 4 pick here. My actual number 3 and number 4 pick. I didn't think either of these guys would be here, but I didn't think both of these guys would be here, I should say. Instead they are. And I'm very happy to choose the Wallace boys. Let's go. Let's just go Sheed first and Ben second. Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace. These are two of the absolute toughest guys I ever saw playing, during my basketball watching careers. 41 technicals in his career for Rasheed Wallace in a single season. Sorry, I said in a career. In a single season, that is the record. So Rasheed. And obviously, Ben is a guy. This is an NBA champion as well as just a guy you didn't want to mess with on any level. So I'm very happy that my 1, 2, 3, and 4 are here on my team.
Yeah, I definitely think it's sort of like a physical fight. Your team, I think is winning so far for sure. But what may tip the scales in a fight is my next guy who brought a gun to work. I'm going with Gilbert Arenas. So, your guys are tough, right? But Gilbert is going to invite you to the locker room and show you that he is armed. So, and
then he will get suspended for a pretty long time.
Yeah. All my guys, by the way, I've had. They're not just thrown out of games. The leagues have to have a meeting about them and decide on a unique and rare punishment. So
interesting. Is that
one.
hinting at your 5th pick? Is that someone?
I actually don't know who I'm going to take 5th, but hopefully someone who I don't know.
Interesting.
You know what? I think we have I'm sure we're going to miss a whole bunch of names here. So we have to talk about the names that didn't get drafted because I have way more than 4 names left here that I could choose from.
Absolutely.
So really, it really doesn't matter who I pick. Really, there's so many because I've got an old Piston there. I've got Lane Beer. I got to go with someone. Who did I got? Oh man, there's so many. I got to pick someone from the Knicks. I feel like a Nick needs to be here. You've got Oakley already, Andy. Freddie, you've got Sprewell. I need.
There's a big Nick left.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Knicks.
You can say there's a couple. Yeah,
there's several. I'm gonna go with. Let's go with Anthony Mason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Great.
I thought.
Like I said, you can go with any of the Knicks from that era. And for no real, I don't even have a great example of anything that he's done. I just want a Nick on my team. And to finish things off, I saved this for my last pick, and definitely not on any of your lists. But, you talk about someone bringing a gun to the arena. How about throwing hot soup at their coach?
JR?
I'm going to go with, is Kevin Porter Jr. for throwing hot soup at a coach. I could have gone with J.R. Smith, actually. But I went with Kevin.
Did J.R. Smith also throw hot soup?
J.R. Smith did something. You're right. He did throw something.
Yeah.
I'm going with what I should...
Oh, that's a great pick.
With Kevin Porter Jr., I'm going with the one that throws soup, not the one that abuses his girlfriend. So clear distinction between.
Yes.
Okay. According to this, Jay, it does say that it's J.R. Smith that threw the soup.
There is a Kevin Porter Jr. story of him throwing soup.
Okay, I'll check.
You know what? Can we switch over to J.R. Smith then? Because I'd rather have.
You want the confirmed soup thrower, right?
The soup thrower. How about this? There's multiple soup throwers. But can I switch my pick to J.R. Smith?
Okay, you know what? Yeah. I just searched for NBA player throwing soup just to see which ones came up. It was all J.R. Smith. But you are absolutely correct. Kevin Porter Jr.
There is a Kevin Porter like that.
Yes. I hope there are different types of soup. Someone threw a gazpacho. It's hey, it's cold.
That's so funny. So just to be clear, you are going with KP.
No, I've said Kevin Porter Jr. I might as well stick with it.
Yeah, okay, you're going with KP.
J.R. Smith is still on the board.
J.R. Smith definitely on the board here. Okay, wow.
Okay, there's a lot of options here. I'm pretty conflicted. I just think that I want to give him his shine because he was okay, there's dirty players, right? You go up for a layup and they pull you down, they horse collar you, that kind of stuff. But long before Kawhi landed on Zaza Pachulia, there was someone who who made famous standing under players while they shoot. Just a cowardly, dirty move. So I gotta go. Again, a lot of guys still floating out there, but I'm going with Bruce Bowen.
That's a
because
great choice.
Bruce Bowen, his thing obviously was a great role player, but like, could you imagine your legacy? It's like, oh well, the thing is like no one thought about this, but here's my hack: a guy goes up to shoot, right, and then they have to land, and then they'll fracture their ankle because I'm stepping where they're landing. It's like you, sir, are a calculated maniac. So
that's a great choice. Great choice.
But he's my most like put together guy. Like he can go out, does the interview, but then he comes back in. He's like, yeah, that guy tore his ACL because of me.
Yeah,
you know?
He's a civilized, tough guy. Civilized tough guy. Yeah.
Wow, this is a shock to me because I do get to pick the number 5 guy on my list. Surprisingly, even though I already said that it was Latrell Sprewell. So when you look up the list, or if you just look up the dirtiest players in sports history, NBA history, you get a lot of these guys on there. Not all these guys are dirty players, but like you said, Bruce Bowen. I got a surprise here of a surprisingly dirty player who, like, I think got away with it more than anyone else ever because of his flourish. He's got a very memorable flourish. Okay, but he kind of did the same kind of stuff but you're talking about with Bowen here, and he is responsible for injuring over 25 players in his career.
Oh my god! Okay, can I guess?
Can I guess too? Okay,
yes.
Fred, you do one guess.
Okay,
is it Karl Malone?
And
no, but that was like it was between these two players
because he would swing his elbows and hit people in the temple.
Yes, he would.
So
this guy did the same thing.
My guess was going to be Larry Bird or Kevin McHale, one of those Celtics.
Ooh, also very like underrated dirty players. Those guys, no question. McHale definitely like a what a beast. But no, you guys, it's no.
Ah,
no, Dikembe. You better believe it.
True.
Mutombo injured over 25 players in his career.
Oh my god!
And those were lethal elbows.
I honestly, yes, his elbows were the worst in the league at the time, and I think he gets away with it in like all of our collective memories because of the no. We love the finger wag.
That's a big flourish. Yeah.
Like we love it so much that I'm like, I friggin' love Dikembe Mutombo. What are you talking about? This guy was the dirtiest guy. Yeah, but reputation around the league, everyone hated his guts. So there we go. Closing it out.
Okay, we gotta go. Should we read our teams and then drop some honorable mentions? Because I got a couple.
Yeah, I guess for the listeners, let's recap our teams. Jay,
sure.
You go.
I got Draymond Green, Bill Embiid, James Johnson, Anthony Mason, and Kevin Porter Jr. pre-domestic violence.
Okay, I got Dennis. Yeah, I know. Yikes.
Yikes.
Yeah, Dennis Rodman, Meta World Peace, Latrell Sprewell, Gilbert Arenas, Bruce Bowen.
Wow. And I have Charles Oakley, Charles Barkley, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, and Dikembe Mutombo.
Guys, both of your teams are just stacked.
Yeah,
stacked.
This is a fun draft to do, and
this is good.
You, the listeners, can please go on the socials, give us a vote. Who has the hardest, toughest, meanest team here?
And loose cannon too is a big factor.
Loose cannon, absolutely.
If they can sabotage their own team, such as throwing the soup, that's big.
I'm not gonna lie, that is big
because there's a lot of tough guys, but it's sort of like. But
guess what? After the soup is thrown, there's a fight. Okay,
that's
right. There's gonna be hands, and just look at the teams and say who's gonna win in that fight.
So that's the Draymond factor for me. It's not just tough.
No,
it's like Draymond is like, listen, you guys need me right now, but watch this. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, totally.
Should we just go like
rapid
fire?
So what are some honorable mentions here? Yeah, go.
Because I got tons, so we can go rapid fire here. So first and foremost, respected Raptor. Serge Ibaka fought his own teammate, tried to strangle Marquise Chris on the court.
Amazing.
I got Chris Childs for sucker punching Kobe Bryant.
Yep, sucker punch is good. Yeah.
I've got Steven Adams just because he looks like Aquaman, and I've got Nikola Jokic just for the brothers.
Oh right, Nikola Jokic the back push, which was.
But I'm mainly getting him on my team because I want his brothers. In some way on my team.
Yeah.
His
So there's an alternate version of this draft where you actually try to put like a skilled team together of guys who do this, and I think these 3 players I'm about to say are on that version of the draft for sure. First is Shaq. Like,
Yes.
Shaq is an underrated
Dirty guy, yeah.
dirty tough guy. Like he's in the top 10 of all-time ejections or something. Like he's on that list. Karl Malone, as you mentioned, Freddie, that's a huge one. Crazy elbows. Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah,
that Pistons
Isaiah Thomas
team,
is on my list. Yep.
underrated. I think by like the current like I mean, although we did see the Jordan documentary, so we're all kind of aware of it at this point. But like, yeah, Isaiah was like that little guy who would like like be on the schoolyard, like
I really like that laugh.
letting his big friends fight for him. That's what it felt like to me, right? Like,
Yes.
so yeah, Isaiah definitely on that version of the draft. I'd say KG also maybe in there as well.
Yeah, KG, I think just like the intimidation factor, and also like I feel like he'd be hard to talk to, like, you know,
Less dirty, more just
you're
like
having
tough
lunch and
skills.
he's just like yelling, and you're like, okay, shit, man.
Although you hate his guts, like if you're playing against him, you really hate KG.
So I think this guy's really underrated. I'm surprised no one picked him as far as like the potentially sabotaging your own team. And man, he's got to be up there with injuring players. And is the only guy I can think of who really severely injured his own teammate on the court recently, and it's Joel Embiid.
Okay.
Joel Embiid, obviously a bit of a hothead, MVP, right? But he injured, like when the Raptors played him in the playoffs last time. Yes, Pascal Siakam, who by the way has done some dirty stuff. He injured Embiid, but before that, Embiid injured like I think 3 of our players. Next year, he rolled on like he did a sumo weird like barrel roll on Draymond Green and tore his ACL. So that's his own teammate. This is chaos. Joel Embiid.
Yeah. Do we remember Grayson Allen?
Grayson Allen
hitting
for sure.
Gary in the nuts, like
And also, he's really hurt some people too. Grayson Allen.
Yeah. He's up there.
The list just keeps going. I also had what was it? Kermit Washington for his punch on Rudy Tomjanovich.
Yeah.
Just in terms of just crazy, Isaiah Stewart got to be somewhere on.
Yeah,
on
Beef
list.
Stew.
Like,
the thing is,
Beef
I love.
Stew.
I bring him up
Stew,
once an
Freddie.
episode.
You friggin' love Beef Stew.
but that scene where he's bloody chasing around LeBron is like that is like really, really chaotic, and it's like one of the more intense things I've seen. Yeah, Beef Stew. Come on.
Love it.
Okay, I think that about wraps it up, right?
I think so. That's it for the show this week.
Okay, well, Jay, thank you so much for joining us. Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to let people know?
No, just find my weekly writing on Raptors HQ. I've got the wrap up, which goes out every Monday. And we're not podcasting. That's wrapped too much lately. Jason just had a kid recently, so actually not recently. He's already turned 1. But potting has been not happening too much lately. Hopefully we'll get back on that in 2024. But Raptors HQ, look for my work there every week.
Wicked, yeah. And again, everyone, remember go vote on those draft teams. You can find it on our Twitter and on our I believe on our Instagram as well.
Hell yeah! All the rate review stuff. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and Raptors Republic, obviously for the writing and the work. And thanks so much for joining us, everyone. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Peace.